think outside the box, if you will. I mean, go there, go off campus. Let's think this through. And sure enough, that's where the Mustang was born. When it finally hit, it took the country by storm.
Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Cars in Context. I'm your host John Clor. You know, this is the Motor City and this is the show where we put cars into the context of your everyday life. We love to celebrate the automotive heritage of Grosse Pointe, but we will make no apologies for our decidedly Detroit perspective, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. One of the biggest headlines going on all summer long in the Detroit area is the GM recall. But one of the biggest pieces of news about the GM recall, and the people most responsible, most tasked with the blame, are not even being called out. But that's why you watch Cars in Context, and we're going to show you today why NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is proven worthless in this particular case, in the GM recall case. And to bring that all to bear on you today, we got none other than our favorite guest host, Chris Sawyer of thevirtualdriver.com. Chris.
Hi, John. How are you?
Welcome back to Cars in Context. I know you've been...
Did you miss me?
Oh, yeah. You've been blogging and going around driving cars and doing
I
what you do.
I was traveling the world in Montgomery, Alabama.
Well, it's kind of like the same thing. But no, we've got a really
It is a
big,
different world.
Well, we've got a big show today about this. Because, Chris, this is something that none of the journalists, quote-unquote journalists, are even talking about.
There aren't any journalists
I know
anymore.
what's happened to the whole industry. It went into the you-know-where. So but we'll bring that up in a second. Before we do that, Chris, we have to find out.
What's in the news?
That's so right. He's so right. Well, I want to bring up something, and speaking of NHTSA and traffic safety, do you know traffic fatalities in China are skyrocketing?
How do they know?
Well, apparently the government keeps track of numbers over there, but they report them to the World Health Organization. So the WHO said that traffic fatalities, the WHO, yeah, in China have reached record numbers. They've surpassed 275,000 traffic deaths a year in China, or nearly 9 times higher than in the United States. Now China, figure this out. They have about, what, four times the population of the U.S., but they have half the number of cars. So if you do some math here, if estimates of those number of cars are to be believed that they're going to double by the end of the decade, then traffic deaths there by the end of the decade could reach 500,000 deaths a year in China. Now, do you think if we sent the NHTSA or maybe the EPA to curb their pollution problem, that all these problems would go away, or is it deeper than that?
Yeah, they're a communist country. That's what's wrong with
That's right, and cars are a relatively new thing. They basically...
Oh, yeah, it takes a while. You've got to get used to it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, all you got to do is go on YouTube and figure that one out. Wow, I have never seen people run over people and just go, okay.
That's almost worse than the skateboard things.
It looks like you think it was a comedy thing, but no, those are actually people getting run over.
Can't drive.
I got one for you.
Okay, good.
The dealers are snatching up the diesel Rams.
No, they just came
out.
out.
That's not a code word. That's the truth.
They just came out though.
Yeah, they're all sold out.
Their allocation's gone?
They're gone. They've actually asked for more diesel engines.
No, they already have 8,000 of them coming over.
They want more.
They sold the 8,000.
Yep.
So, whoa.
You know, they've got a MPG rating of 28.
Well,
on the highway.
That's the highest.
But
then.
you can actually get better than that, because here's a little tidbit for you. Diesel numbers that you get from the EPA are actually weighted differently than hybrid numbers. The hybrids get a higher rating than diesels do. Diesels do better than their EPA numbers almost all the time. I had a diesel Passat that I took around to Virginia last year. I got 48 miles a gallon. I think it's only rated at 43.
Holy Toledo.
So anyway, the American market is warming up to diesels, despite the fact that
not
$4 that's where you want them. That's really where you want them.
You're right. Yes.
And Toyota's going to offer a Cummins diesel in the next Tundra. Nissan's going to do one in its next Titan full-size pickup truck.
Oh, wow.
And GM's going to offer a diesel option on the Colorado and Canyon.
That's what I hear.
And Nissan's testing a 2.8-liter four-cylinder Cummins in the midsize Frontier.
A four-cylinder diesel?
A four-cylinder, that'd be cool.
Well, you know, Yeah,
torque.
Europe has a lot of four-cylinder diesels in their trucks. I guess, well, maybe they are.
And we
coming
just got to get used to the fact that it's all on the low end and you
Yeah.
shift early. But
in. Well, if the
they're
government
fun.
would be supportive of diesels,
It's
maybe
not just that.
EPA.
It's not just the EPA. It's also because the EPA, the Euro 6 and our numbers are getting very close together.
Yeah.
It's that the states and the feds have put such a tax on diesel fuel. That's $4.50 here.
market.
When I was in Alabama, diesel was $3.50.
Unbelievable.
I mean, oh my God, I'd buy one in a minute to do that.
Well, speaking of things that make you crazy as far as costs go, you know, the whole rumor about this GM recall thing.
Costco. This isn't.
Costco. No, not Costco.
Oh, Costco.
Costco, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
The whole
Let me clean
recall
this one
thing,
up.
people are saying that we're going to sue General
Yeah,
Motors
yeah,
because my recalled car is going to be worth less, so they're lining up.
Funny you should say that because every time I read PR Newswire, while that was all going, this one lawyer, and I won't say his name or where he was from, it would say, Tom so-and-so is leading the world's #1 lawyer on this. And I kept going, you know, I really just want to call you up and give you hate
You're wrong.
mail.
You're wrong, and here's why you're wrong, folks. Believe this or not. All these claims that cars that are involved in the ignition recall are going to drop in value have not been proven by any data. As a matter of fact,
Let me guess why.
you're probably going to get it right. The
me
cars
guess
in
why.
question are actually bringing in more money than they were last year at the same time.
Would it have anything to do with the fact that the used car market is really tight and there's a lot of demand for it?
And you can't find a good, clean
Used
late model-
car?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the prices are up. So
Funny how that works.
So you lawyers out there waiting to swoop in and save us from this horrible thing, guess what? You're not going to make it. It's 1-800, you're out of luck.
Yeah, well, you know, all I can say is I agree with Shakespeare. First thing we do is we kill all the lawyers.
That's right. So if you're having a lawsuit and you're counting on making a few bucks, the value of all these cars involved is actually up. You're right. It's the demand for
tight
clean
market.
use. It's
Yeah,
really
they'll do
tight.
it.
And
Funny
and
economics.
the funny thing is that entry-level cars, which a lot of these recalls involve entry, they're the hardest one to get.
Yeah, you know why? It's those people we keep talking about, the kids who aren't buying
We
cars.
don't have any money. Give me another one. I
Okay,
can't take it.
a new study commissioned by the European automakers and some oil companies said that Europe as a whole needs to increase the use of biofuels that are not made from food crops.
Oh.
Did we mention this?
I think we did a show about this.
A new law that was passed with the goal of reducing CO2 emission mandates that by 2020, at least 10% of all fuel used by EU nations must be biofuel based.
10% biofuel?
10%.
They're dreaming.
That's ridiculous.
Okay.
Well, the EU recently delayed a 2020 CO2 target of reaching
Yeah.
95 grams per kilometer because German automakers said they couldn't reach the standard by then. Really?
Well, why pass the law if it's unobtainable?
Because I'm in government. If I say it, you'll find a way to do it.
Just do it.
A
What are you,
study
Nike?
claims the best way to reduce carbon emissions
Yeah.
from fuel is to use biofuels, and Europe needs to step up production and use.
Make
Bull.
more because we can't sell
Bull. Let me tell you something about ethanol.
it. Wait, no, the running of the bulls, that's in Spain.
Now let me tell you something about ethanol. You want to use ethanol? You're going to increase CO2 emissions. You want to use biofuels? CO2 emissions usually go up. CO2 emissions mean nothing, as we showed you in our global warming
Show.
special. But
Yeah.
how about
Wow,
another one
Chris.
from you?
Yeah, I got it. Okay, I got to wrap this up. Now it's time. I'll give you something. We want to talk about biodiesel?
Not really, but we will.
All right. I got something for you, folks. Wake up and smell the biodiesel. Because I'm talking
Isn't that
about
coffee?
It is. Researchers in England's University of Bath, they're going to take a bath on this one, have developed a process that can turn used coffee grounds into biodiesel fuel.
Wait a minute. Those guys who own Starbucks are going to have even more money?
Can you imagine?
How the latte grande?
You could someday, if this is true, someday you could drive to Starbucks using fuel that was made from the latte that you bought yesterday. Isn't that awesome? Huh?
I don't know.
Well, you have the Mocha Grande?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Sort of reminds me of Soylent Green as people. But
No,
anyway.
so here's what they discovered by soaking coffee grounds in an organic solvent that they made up. They developed this solvent. You can extract a certain amount of oils from them, and from that oil, from 22 pounds of coffee grounds, you get a half gallon of
22
biofuel.
pounds?
Well, for a half gallon.
Isn't that a little inefficient?
Okay, wait a minute now. Before you say, that's just silly, you guys are crazy, listen to this. The study estimated that coffee shops discard 8 million tons of used coffee grounds every year, and that if every Starbucks in the U.S. could recycle the coffee grounds for fuel, it could produce more than 5,000 gallons of biodiesel per day, my friend. And I say,
So coffee does give you gas. Well, in this case, diesel.
Give you gas. It could give you gas if these guys taking a bath in England
That's
are.
not bad.
Yeah, so there you go. There's your biodiesel stuff. But anyway, listen. That's just craziness. What's not crazy is one of our great segments, Car Trivia Time. It's time for our weekly trivia. So this is the part of the show where we ask you a question. We ask you to put your thinking caps on. We also ask you not to cheat and check Google, or ask Siri. Don't do that. Just put your thinking caps on. We'll see how much you know about cars.
I think if you ask Siri, Siri would come back with, "You need to get a life."
That's right. Or watch Cars in Context. I don't have to give you the answer.
There you go.
Okay, here's the question for this week's weekly trivia. Are you ready? What cars were the first to use standardized production key start system? Hey, are we talking about ignition switches?
Mm-hmm. I don't think it was a GM car.
Really? Well, just think about it now. What car, think back, what American car, or actually what any of the cars that we've sold in this country.
There have been keys for a long time, but what do you mean by standard?
That means in a regular production car. You don't have to order it as an option. It's standard
wasn't an
production.
option.
It was just part of every one of their series. So what car used a standardized key to start it? We'll reveal the answer to this trivia question, and we'll put Chris here in the driver's seat and talk about NHTSA taking blame for this crazy ignition recall right after this message. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Cars in Context. I'm your host, John Clor. Today, we're going to be talking with Chris Sawyer about why the GM recalls prove that NHTSA is worthless. But before we do that, we have to give everyone the answer to our weekly trivia question.
Yeah, because I'm having trouble with this one because, I mean, Cadillacs back in the 20s, you could get a key. Other cars in the 30s, you would have a key. But they also had push-button starts, and usually it was a floor button. So when
did this all happen?
This have happened? Was it pre-war or post-war?
Well, a lot of people were surprised at this one. The question was, what cars were the first to use standardized production key start systems for the car?
So every one of them coming down the line
Every model. You don't pay optional. It wasn't something you requested. This came across the board. And the answer is, drum roll, the 1949 Chryslers.
49?
The 49. So this is post-war, Chris. These cars,
Wow.
yeah, in 1949, Chrysler made key start standard across the range of all the Chryslers. So no more do I have to get one, do I ask for one in 40? So that's pretty surprising.
That's pretty late. A lot later than I expected.
I would think that, yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't have more stolen cars back then.
Yeah, they should have with the push button start. Anyway, that's our trivia of the day. But you know what? Let's face it. We've got really serious stuff about keys with this ignition recall. And yeah, GM, poor Mary Barra has been grilled mercilessly by the Senate subcommittees about, hey, why didn't you lay off more people? And why didn't you, all these ridiculous questions.
Yeah, people who don't work for a living are telling us what to do.
Layoff
That's
people.
really,
yeah,
that's rich.
And my question, Chris, and I think here is the issue. Since this whole thing happened, we've had a bit of news. Folks, if you haven't been paying attention, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration now isn't even on the hook for not catching the recall issue. And here's the problem with that. Their mission in life, the reason why they exist, is to oversee the car companies to make you safe. That's why they're there. They spend $850 million of your dollars every year to make sure that they're watching over the car companies. So when the car companies made a mistake, they have the same data the car company has. They didn't catch it. So why aren't they being grilled? Why aren't they why isn't somebody from NHTSA being fired? It's proven by this recall that they completely blew it, and yet they exist. If they can't do their job, why are they being paid? So the question I have for you is, now we hear the former leader of NHTSA, the former chairperson, John Clor.
Oh, God.
She's at it again. She's out saying, well, NHTSA doesn't have enough money.
Isn't it funny?
We need more money.
Isn't it funny how that's the answer for what you would call a statist, someone who believes in the state? I need more money. I need more money. It's never that I need to get more efficient, that I've done this job wrong, that I need to do it better. No. I need more money.
Give me more money.
I need more people. I need more this. I need more that.
You
know what you need? A hole in the head. Because we've got one if we're going to give them this
money.
Well,
and here's the issue. Okay, so she said, the problem with NHTSA, she says the reason why they didn't catch it is because none of their data systems, the people studying all the recalls and all the safety issues, none of the computers talk to each other. And so since the data system, they can't cross-examine each system, they can't see over each other's shoulder. it's a problem. And I said, if you give us $3 million more, we'll put the data in a cloud, put it up in the cloud.
Oh, I'd say they're already in a cloud.
Okay, they probably are. And when it's up in the cloud, then we can then see across each other. Now we'll recognize these things. But here's the problem, folks. Last year, they gave this exact number, $3 million. They gave that in raises to their 715 employees.
These are the people who
missed.
didn't get it in the first place, and
So
they get money for not
They get a
doing
raise, Chris. They get a raise.
Is the VA running this place?
Nobody got fired there. I mean, so they got a raise for missing this horrible recall. The people died, and their job is to keep you safe. They got a raise for it. And in fact, the average raise was what, 700, 800 employees?
Yeah.
About $4,000 a piece.
Oh,
Here,
crap.
thanks for screwing up. Here's $4,000. Go home and put that in.
Hit me again.
Can you imagine this?
What's their administrative cost?
Well, now that's another question, Chris. Car companies are, what, is it around 10%?
Yeah, 9–10%.
Okay, so car companies, they think that's high because executives make a lot of money and there's a lot of oversight with a car company. But NHTSA, as I understand it, is really something like double that. I mean, they're 16%, 17%. So the overhead,
Lord, God in heaven.
the overhead of NHTSA is double that of the car companies, and yet they're asking for more money to oversee. The car companies already oversee it. Here's my question. All right, let's get right down to the nitty-gritty on this topic. If we had elected someone, your congressman, your senator, you voted for him to watch out for my interests. And what did that senator do? He called a subcommittee hearing, and he brought in General Motors, and he asked them the tough questions. What happened? What's going on here? If the senators are doing that, why do we need NHTSA to do nothing other than, I missed it, send me more money?
Because the senator did it for one reason, grandstanding, so he could get on there and say, see what I did for you, re-elect me.
So, Chris, what you're saying is the senators have basically deferred their authority, their powers.
They've been deferring their authority now for almost 50 years.
So they're getting rid of what they were hired to do, their work. They're giving their work
Yeah.
to bureaucrats, and they're not doing their job.
And they're not doing their job, exactly. If you want to clean out Washington, you don't just put term limits on the people you elect to office. You force it so they have to get rid of their staffs, because the staffs continue no matter who's in
I
office.
don't get it. Folks, here is what Cars in Context is trying to tell you today. It's that if yes, there was a mistake made, but if we have a government agency whose job it is to oversee this and make sure this stuff doesn't happen, and they don't do that job, why are you paying them? Why are they in business? They should
I'll
go
tell you why
away.
I'm paying them, because the IRS gets really mad if I don't.
Yeah, well, those guys, that's a whole other show.
All of our hard drives went down, but only the
We
six people
lost
that
all
you were.
the emails. Now, what if GM were what if Mary Barra was brought in, Chris, and they said, let's see the data on these recall switch. Oh, I lost all those emails. What if she had done that?
I should have been in contempt of Congress.
They'd send her
like
to jail.
that.
But the IRS can do it.
Of course.
Amazing.
Yes.
So, folks, let's.
You ever read the book Animal Farm?
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's just be flat out honest here.
You could get rid of a lot of the stuff that they do. Here's the thing: when these guys were created, DOT and NHTSA, their whole thing was, you are to not say how you meet the standards. You were supposed to write performance standards, saying this is the goal you are supposed to meet.
Right.
They have gone away from that. It's to the point. I was just reading something about windshield wipers. They tell you how many sweeps per minute they have to be, how many sweeps per minute the low has to be from the high, how many speeds you have to have. This is ridiculous.
It's off the hook.
There are things that, yes, you have to have, but come on.
Folks, let's face it right now. We've got to get to the bottom of this, and I think it's time that you write your congressman and tell them, look, why is NHTSA crash testing cars when the Insurance Institute is doing it? Why are they wasting your money? Why are they doing things like spending money promoting electric cars, saying we're going to get so many millions, 1 million of them on the road by next year? It's not going to happen.
Bull.
They're wasting.
You know what that reminds me of? Remember the movie Dave?
Yeah.
Where the guy who was in there imitating the president says, "Well, sir, why are we telling people or running ads for people to buy American cars and they're already buying them, so they'll feel good about it, sir." Really?
Right. So NHTSA, please do the right thing. Everybody quit and send the $850 million back to all of us.
This is one time I will support euthanasia.
That's right. Well, that's not Asia; it's the United States. Oh, sorry. Anyway, so thanks. Really, where are the journalists, folks? If you're an auto journalist, you're not covering this, you're not doing your job. But we could talk all day about this. It just gets us upset. So let's do something fun.
Okay.
Let's show you another segment we have on the show that's a lot of fun. It's called pick of the week. Pick of the week is when you send me a really cool photo that you might find anywhere on the internet in your personal files, and don't send me a lot of that stuff if it's too personal. But send it to me, and if I think it's kind of cool, I'll put it on the air as well. And today's pick of the week is a picture of our fearless leader, President Obama. I didn't know this, that he went to the Detroit Auto Show, much like our entire WMTV team did the last couple of years. But in 2012, Obama went to the show, and guess what? Somebody spotted him sitting in a 2012 Shelby Mustang GT500.
Wait a minute, that's not a hybrid. That's not a fuel cell.
This is what I'm.
It's not a clean vehicle.
And it's not a driverless car.
Yeah.
This thing had 662 horsepower out of a supercharged 5.8 liter. So and it's about, and you could tell from the look on his face, he's actually smiling.
Yeah.
So maybe.
And you know what? It's one of the few things that he could use his pen and telephone to get that I wouldn't be ticked off about.
So thank you for sending in that cool photo. I didn't realize he was in there checking out. I mean, we were there, and you can look on YouTube to see our Cars in Context shows from the North American International Auto Show. Chris, we've done that a couple of years now, but I never saw those photos. Thanks for sending that in, but there's a better part of the show.
Pride in my ride.
Yes, this is where someone out there in TV land says, hey, WMTV, why don't you show a picture of my car, because I've got pride in my ride. So guess what, Chris?
Yeah.
Somebody you know sent in this photo about somebody you know. In fact,
I'm confused.
one of your brothers sent us this photo about one of your brothers.
Oh, that's my brother Ron's truck.
That's correct. This is a picture of a 1947 Ford F1 pickup, now owned by Ron Sawyer, brother of Chris Sawyer here, and Jim Sawyer has also been on the show. He lives
Yeah, but we don't talk about him.
Yeah, well, he was on Cars in Context. He lives in Carnation, Washington. And he told me that Carnation, Washington is where carnation milk came from.
Oh, good thing it's not reincarnation Washington. That's milk from dead cows.
No, it's not reincarnation. But if you didn't know where Carnation was, it was outside of Seattle. And Ron picked this car up at the Seattle Mecum auction.
Wait a minute. Is that a Chevy engine?
No, it's a Ford small block.
Oh, good.
It's
blue. All right.
Yeah, it's a blue. It's a Ford,
thank
not
God.
a Chevy 350.
Nothing will tick me off faster than
That's
putting
right.
a
Put a
Chevy
Ford in
engine
your Ford and a Chevy in your
Yes,
Chevy.
that's right.
But this little thing, look at how sweet this ride is. Now,
he bought that for his wife.
Now, Jim didn't want to tell me exactly how much he paid for it because he thought it was a little overpriced, but I got to tell you, cool old pickups like that, even this, although, Chris, this is a resto mod. It's got modern brakes, modern engine,
love it.
air conditioning,
I love it.
automatic.
Who'd have thought
Look
that
at how straight and beautiful the
Wow.
resto job on this. So Ron Sawyer,
Nice job,
out there in
Ron.
Carnation, Washington, now that Jim Sawyer, who's our big Cars in Context fan and guest host from time to time, has sent this in, Ron, check us out on the YouTube for Cars in Context TV.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sending
And
it.
get in touch. We haven't heard from you.
But you know what? There's even more.
Yeah, what?
This is the time when
Is this where we bring Lauren up? And
This is where we
people
ask
actually quit watching us?
No, that's right. We asked Lauren Parrott of WMTV, do we have, Lauren, we need to know. I know you've been struggling through the mailbags here at WMTV at the War Memorial. Do we have viewer mail this week?
Yes, you do.
How did it happen?
You always hear.
Osmosis.
Thank you, Lauren.
You're welcome.
Lauren has brought us another couple of, now thanks for sending this in, folks. This is really important that
Yes.
we're able to
We love
interact
to hear
with you,
from
the
you.
viewers. So, Chris, on this one, I want you to try to take the first one.
Okay, this one's from Nick S. of Grosse Pointe Woods. Watches us on Comcast Cable Channel 915, so he's got HD. Dear Chris, you're my favorite co-host on Cars in Context.
Oh, wait a minute.
Thanks, Nick. The
Wait a
check's
minute.
in the mail.
Stop. Well, say, he has his brother Jim is on here too, and Dan and Joe Bobby. I mean, you can't say that, can you?
You pay him enough, you can.
Do you know Nick?
I do now.
Where is he? Grosse Pointe Woods.
I was curious if you have seen Jerry Seinfeld's new series, Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. Yes, I have.
You have seen it too?
It's funny as hell.
Okay.
In it, Seinfeld writes ads for Acura, the show's sponsor, which are a spoof of the kind of TV ads you might have seen during the 50s or 60s.
Okay, that's basically it.
Yeah, they're a little off the wall. I hear Acura is now thinking of using the ads on national TV as well. Do you think
Oh, really?
comedians should be used for automotive advertising? After all, I didn't think Will Ferrell was funny in those Ron Burgundy ads for the Dodge Durango, but is it true they were successful? Not with me, they weren't.
No, wait a
Those
minute. Wait a stop.
sucked.
Stop. Nick, this is a great question. You didn't think the Ron Burgundy thing was
No, they were dumb. It was a commercial for Ron Burgundy, not for the Durango.
I agree. Now, that's a great question, Nick. I think that those commercials did more to serve the movie that was coming out.
Absolutely.
Anchorman 2.
He got hosed. Chrysler got hosed on that one.
All right, but here's what I heard. That some research came out that Google searches for Durango was up like, what, 50% because of the Ron Burgundy commercials? Is that
Yeah, and it served
So-
its purpose of getting people to at least search it out.
All right, so wait a second. So the comedian thing gets people to watch, but does it sell the product?
No, but let's not forget that some of the best commercials I've ever done were the ones that were done on your show of shows with Sid Caesar. Where
Yeah.
especially, but you don't want to do those again today because he actually had the scripting changed on the front of the car, and it said, he goes, it's a new Plymouth, Plymooth. Oh, they did put my brother on the line. Nowadays
No,
it would
so
be like, yeah.
You know, Seinfeld was huge. There's a whole generation of people that love Seinfeld. And you know, I'm going to be honest with you. The comedians, they make enough money, and
Yeah.
and just because they have money doesn't make them car guys. They buy all these exotics.
I have no problem with bringing them in and getting their ideas, but don't turn the whole thing over to them.
Yeah, I really, no offense, Jerry Seinfeld, but stay out of our knickers on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, your cars and
I'll tell
coffee
you what,
thing, it's cute, but you know.
Turn it over to the guys who do the Mad Men, because actually some of those commercials are better than the ones you see on TV.
I love 50s commercials. Go back on go out on YouTube and look at some of the great 50 car commercials of yesteryear. They're a blast. Their jingles were great. They really were. And the footage and Dinah Shore selling Chevys, See the USA, and Only Mustang Makes It Happen in '68, and the Wild Thing, and the Plymouth. I mean, that was the barest. I loved it. But anyway, so that was a great question, Nick. But no, I don't think comedians should help sell cars. Sorry, that's just me. I have one. This one comes to us from a commenter. Oh, this one came to us on our YouTube site. It was 390 GT was this guy's name. Now, I don't know where 390 GT lives because that's the way it is on the internet.
Yeah.
But he watches Cars in Context on Cars in Context TV on the YouTube. Cool. Here's what he said. Dear John, I saw your snowy street scene used as a pick of the week segment in episode 51 about tech, and I heard you say that the cars in the photo were one of an old Fairlane and of a 58 or 59 Thunderbird or Squarebird. But I thought to myself, hey, you guys, wait a minute. The two cars in the picture were actually a 1965 Ford Galaxy on the left, not a Fairlane. Let's look at this, Chris. Here's the picture I should say. And the one across the street is a 1960 Thunderbird. You guys are wrong. Please check your pictures.
Okay, 390 GT, I'll give you this, that they did the Squarebird for 58, 59, and 60, so you have me there. And yes, that is a Galaxy.
Okay.
Well, you know I'm myopic. I just got new glasses. What can I say?
No. You know,
I
we
was
don't
drinking
mind.
that day.
You
I don't
want to send
know.
us viewer mail that we made a mistake? That's okay. But here's my defense. There was snow in the taillights of that Thunderbird. So in the difference between a 58 and a 59 were the two bulbs, and a 60 were three. So there was snow in there.
So
and
what we're really trying to say to you, 390 GT, is you have too much time in your hands. But we love the fact that you're watching.
The snow got in my eyes. How's that? Yeah. So great question, but we'll take that anytime. Chris, you know we're out of time already.
Okay.
How's that possible?
It just happens.
It flies by.
I just hope it doesn't, that isn't the case if somebody turns to me and says, Chris, you're out of time.
No,
That's it.
I'm not Father Time. But thanks again for coming on. And really, we really showed the world that NHTSA is basically worthless and they should go out of business.
There's certainly a better
So
way of
write
doing
your
it.
congressman, and remember until next time, then what we're giving out here is some knowledge, and that knowledge is power. So I've been your host, John Clor. Thanks for watching.